Hello and welcome to our show. I'm Harry Greenberger. I'm the host for this program. And today we have two members of our board of directors who requested and suggested that we have a show to discuss the topic of proselytizing. I did go to get a dictionary definition of proselytize, which I hope we'll be able to show on the screen. In the meantime, let me introduce you to Michael Malec and Doug Stewart, who may have the same or different views on this subject. And when we're talking about proselytizing, I presume we're going to talk about what the other people do and what you think we, secular humanists, should do. So does one of you want to just get that topic going?
I'd like to start off with, as you say, the definition of proselytizing. There's a huge range. You could say that Michael Newdow, who is famous for trying to get under God out of the Pledge of Allegiance and in God we trust off of the money, is he proselytizing? I don't think so. I think he's just standing up for the separation of church and state, which many people, including religious, do not have a problem with. And that could go all the way to the other end of the spectrum, where you get the Christian fundamentalists on Bourbon Street forcing God and Jesus down your throat, and if you don't take it, then you're going to go to hell. So there's a huge spectrum that
they're quite certain of that outcome, aren't
they?
Excellent. Well, let me just say that the definition, and this is one which you provided to me, says that proselytize is to convert or attempt to convert a person from one belief to another. Now, I want to make it clear and on the record that we secular humanists have not set out to take anyone's faith away from them. It is, we believe in we support the right of people to have a life stance that they choose, so long as they don't interfere with our right to have our life stance. So we're not. Our purpose is not to take a believer and turn that person into a non-believer, which is really what proselytizing might be. And you're right. When Michael Newdow wants enforcement of the constitutional requirement of the separation of church and state, he's not taking anybody's religion away from them. He's just saying, let's do what the law says we should do.
I would argue that he's not even making a religious or irreligious statement. He's Michael Newdow is, amongst other things, a lawyer, and he's just taking a legal position.
I would argue that the perspective that the public have of Michael Newdow is he's a horrible, evil person that is taking the God away. There's nothing positive coming out of, from a religious perspective, from Michael Newdow's efforts.
What you're saying is absolutely correct. There is a difference between perception and reality. And even though, and we can talk about many other instances where secular people, non-religious people, atheists, take positions which are not proselytizing, but which the religious people like to describe as trying to take their faith away from them.
Right. That's one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this issue, because it's, what is, proselytizing? Or I would use the term evangelism in a lot of cases.
Evangelism. You would use that for the religious people. Are you saying that atheists can also be evangelists?
I'd have to look up evangelism to make sure it doesn't have a particular religious context. But yeah, I would say so, failing, a better definition. But what people think, as both of you know, I worked for the ACLU for a number of years. We took a lot of positions on church-state issues that were legal positions. The fact that some people, would say that, the ACLU are a bunch of atheists and they hate God and they're trying to take God away from us. What do we care what they say? They don't know what they're talking about, and it's just plain not true. The problem is people who go out and impose upon others to try to force their views on them. Things like what I tend to call the creationism bill, but the Louisiana Science Education Act that was passed. Although the act itself doesn't say anything that's illegal, it was passed as a cover so that people could, they think, introduce their religious beliefs into classrooms. That, to me, is proselytizing.
Well, that Science Education Act specifically mentions areas that they felt that teachers could bring in supplemental material, which had to do with evolution, cloning, and global warming.
Right.
As though those subjects are being taught leaving out scientific facts. So this is potentially a violation of the separation of church and state.
But from the atheist perspective, again, from the view of the general public, is that Barbara Forrest, who's on our board of directors, who's doing an excellent job, she is still taking some negative flack from society for taking God out of the classroom.
Yeah.
That's what I agree with. That's what I disagree with fundamentally.
All right. Let me. I have.
But that's all perception, as I was saying. That's not fact. Fact is when you try to push your views on someone else. I would say coercively. And that's why I get upset with evangelism and proselytization, because I look at them as coercive. And I think a person has, and this was our basic disagreement, is I believe that people have a right to their own beliefs, no matter how illogical and absurd they are, as long as they don't force those beliefs on someone else, and their beliefs do not harm other people.
And that could apply to things other than religious beliefs.
Exactly.
Because
I would agree.
We secular humanists have our principles. I don't call them beliefs. It's a lifestyle that we accept. But it is not our intention to force that upon other people, and we don't want them to force theirs on us. I'm reading a note here that I got from you, Michael, and it says, I only object to proselytizing, not to education, not to writing books, not to giving speeches, not to making movies, and most certainly not to filing lawsuits to protect constitutional rights.
Right.
Well, when you say making movies in there is
Religulous?
There's a movie that made quite a sensation called Religulous.
Right.
And Bill Maher, his position is made very clear. Is that proselytizing?
I don't think so at all. He's presenting, well, first of all, I think Religulous is largely entertainment, first of all. It's got a viewpoint. Are you going to say that he can't have a viewpoint? I also went to see, speaking of movies, way back when, the rock opera there, Jesus Christ Superstar,
yeah.
I went to see that. I'm not a believer in any of that. I thought, but it was a story. It was fun. Had good music. I enjoyed it.